Hi, everyone. This is Eric Silvermoon, and this is actually day 17 of my 31 days with the Goddess Morrigan. I have the amazing Laura Daligan here with me today, and we are going to be tapping into the Goddess Morrigan and talking about the journey and answering the call of the Morrigan, as well a little bit of an art chat, and then talking about inviting her as a daily practice and what we could do to honor her. So, hi, Laura.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. I always like connecting with your energy. It's always so much fun. I always feel like I laugh more than I talk.
My work here is done if everyone laughs more than they talk. This is good.
Oh my God. So for me, like I mentioned before when we were having a little chat, is that I've worked with the Goddess Morrigan in a 5 goddess aspects. So I really didn't give her the time that she deserved. And I felt the calling of actually feeling a little bit mature, I think, to be able to handle the challenges and to handle and delving that in. And it was a little bit of a kind of like, oh, okay, so we're about to tap into this and kind of go on that journey. And it was cool that it was October, because October tends to be that transition into the darker parts of our souls. The veil is a little bit thinner. It's definitely a magical month, and I just felt like it was appropriate. And you have been working with the goddess for, I think you mentioned almost 11, 12, going on possibly 13 years.
13, I'm getting old. Getting older than I thought. I think it might be, a good 12 years, I think now. I think 12 years. Since she first kidnapped me in a meditation. So, and it really was kidnapping in a meditation. Obviously, I was open to it and happy about it, but it wasn't something I was like going searching for. It's, well, not consciously searching for. I think unconsciously, I probably really put that call out myself. But she kidnapped me in a meditation. But it's interesting what you just said about maturity, because then I was very early 20s. And I probably was not mature enough, but it's almost like she got a spear and pointed me, put me on the side and went, you, and waited a little while until I was mature enough to maybe deal with some of it. So I almost felt like I was put on the shelf for a few years. Well, I learned about her and got really interested about her, but she didn't really have much for me to do until I grew up a little bit.
No, I agree, actually, because even now when I'm with this challenge I'm doing and working on an everyday kind of ritual almost, I've noticed that in meditations that she's been present in my entire life, and I didn't realize it until now. And so it is that definitely being put up on the shelf until you are seasoned enough to be able to handle and move forward. So it's interesting that you said that.
Yeah, and it's true. I think even when you're not consciously doing something or working with her, she's still there. And there's me sometimes, obviously after 12 years, it's not been every day that I've been fully on it, working with her. And it kind of goes in waves. Sometimes I really am. Like last year, with the last 2 years, were insane. Then this year, it's almost like I've had the time out to take in what I've learned, and it's gone a bit quieter. And I can feel that tide coming back again now. So it's like the sea. I think you go through tides when you're working with her a lot. But then it's such a strong energy. I think you have to really internalize it a little bit and take time out to work out and work on yourself as well, because she is a massive advocate of working on your own stuff, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. And I actually wanted to ask you a question because as I've been kind of learning about a lot of people and their journey with the Morrigan, for me, I had a very rough childhood with being out as gay as a very young age, and then also as a witch as a very young age, and dealing with bullying and eating disorders and attempted suicide, and a lot of people that but I'm over it, so it's easy to talk about it. A lot of people have been called to work with the Goddess Morrigan have come from a very, very challenging upbringing and have had very difficult things that have given that it was almost like you're able to work with the Goddess now because you have survived something. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to go through that to work with the Goddess, but it's interesting. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have seen a different side of life and to be exposed and vulnerable to certain situations. I think, if you skip through life missing the subtleties and missing the heartache, then you probably won't get it. And I don't mean you have to be miserable all the time, but I think that she's a goddess that takes you to those extremes and walks you through those extremes as well. So I think it's either, maybe, I mean, I've not had a troubled childhood per se, but I had eating disorders when I was, actually, maybe now I talk about it, I had a huge eating disorder when I was 15 and almost didn't come through it, and there's some things that you go through which are quite full on. And being very, very, very sensitive person, psychically and emotionally, you just pick up on so much stuff. And I think that sensitivity is something she really, not that you need so much, but she really communes with you through that sensitivity. And when you're that sensitive, you often feel everything, the good and the bad and the ugly.
I agree. And yeah, to go what you said, when it's up, I think it's things that we do to ourselves. It's all about self-improvement. And I think with Goddess Morrigan, she's a teacher of self-improvement.
Yeah, she's not the most cuddly teacher of self-improvement.
Correct. And I'm that.
Yeah, there's not much sentimentality of poor you. Did you have a bad? She just gets her spear and points me and go, deal with that. Look at that. I'll see you later. And I'm like, but God, she shows you things other goddesses and other people won't show you, and that is just so, it may feel a bit unsentimental, it may feel a bit harsh, but it's for your own good. It really is. It's like she's showing you things which will totally iron out or clear out a lot of things that are holding you back in life. It just may seem a bit like I just want to cuddle at the time.
No, I agree. And that a lot of people, when they want to work with a goddess, they get very turned off because people get very territorial of her and very protective, and they keep telling you kind of like, who are you to work with this goddess because she's so battle. They always say that she's a war goddess and stuff like that. But with this challenge and getting to know the goddess Anu and Bog and Maka as a triple goddess, and understanding her in different faces, as the mother, as a warrior queen, and also as a crone, you kind of get to know her that she could be very motherly and very kind, but I think it's once you already learn the challenges and you've moved on, it's kind of like, well done. Here's a hug.
Then you get the hug. It's all about the hugs for me.
I know. I'll be like, too good. Where's my hug?
Amazing.
Well, it's interesting, and I think it's good to be able to learn about the goddess fully. And so, did you do any prep work, or did you learn anything, or you kind of just went on your personal experiences with her?
Yeah, well, it was because about 12. There's been a lovely few books. I know you've mentioned a few of them. They've been written in the last 12 years about the Morrigan, especially recently. There's been a couple of awesome books. But when I first started, there wasn't, unless you wanted to go and look at the original Irish texts, which I wasn't really going to probably do because I was only in my early 20s and I was probably drinking too much. There wasn't loads to read. And there's a book by some friends of mine, David and Sarita. They wrote The Guises of the Morrigan. For me, that came out at the same time that I was just getting into the Morrigan, so that was brilliant. But yeah, I had this whole thing that everyone was saying, don't go there, don't work with the Morrigan, don't. It's like saying don't press the red button. I'm just like, just need to press the button, you just have to. If someone says no, I'm like, really? But she'd already chosen me, and it was like, and it didn't feel like I was doing anything bad or evil or wrong. It felt like, no, this is okay, this is the path. So she chose me first. Or I don't want to be like she chose me. I don't mean it's an ego thing. I just feel like she just pointed me out as you'll listen. And I started learning about her afterwards. I mean, I quite liked her red and blackness and her cronus, and that's what I knew about her really. But you're right, everyone knows the battle and warrior side. I guess because Celtic tradition was very warrior-like, but I think she was around pre-Celt, and I feel like that, we have no written history of what they actually believed. So there's so much more to her, as you were saying. She's a goddess of the land. Even if we look at her animals, the crow, the wolf, the horse, just look at the traits of those animals. They're not, hello kitty, they're not just about battle. The horse is such a beautiful, loving animal. The heart chakra of a horse is just overwhelmingly beautiful. The wolf is such a family animal. So there's so much more to learn about her, and people do get very intimidated or put off by the original death and sex and Well, they might like the sex bit, but they don't like the death bit. But you know, she has got those powers. It's not like I'm fluffing it over. That is very, very strong, but it's not all there is, and there's so much more to discover, which is just the brilliant part of the journey.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and that's why I feel like it's important. I think when you work with when you want to invite either a goddess, if you feel like they chose you or you choose them to work with, it's just like a relationship, like going on a first date. You want to know, it's like, oh, do you have any siblings? Do you have anything? You know,
are you allergic to anything before I order you food?
What kind of food do you want? And you know, I think that's important to build that relationship and to work with it. And so I was going to talk about sacrificing, because I don't know if you ended up sacrificing something when you were working with her. Because for me, I just felt that I needed to do something to be taken seriously by her. And so I decided to quit drinking soda, because I drink soda a lot and a lot of fast food, because I'm always on the road. And so it's easy for me to pull off the freeway, grab something really quick, and then go. And so I gave that up. And then I started reading that a lot of people felt the need to give something up. And so did you feel that need?
Not at first. I mean, it was more giving up the time to dedicate, to learn. And I think, to be fair, I've really given up a lot of my, not given up, I don't mean that in a bad way. I've given a lot of my time over the last few years. And I think for me, it's been more like, you'll do this job, you'll do this work. You know, I will do something for her. And but actually, you say that, and recently, I've been really being drawn not to eat dairy, and that's, you know, I'm a vegetarian anyway, but I've been really pulled not to eat dairy, and because the cow is also very sacred to the Morrigan as well, and I love cows. I love all animals, to be fair, but I love my cows, and I think there's something at the moment actually about giving things up more than before. So yeah, I think that's coming in now actually more than before.
Okay, well that makes sense. Oh, I heard myself. Yeah, that makes sense. Then feeling that pull out.
Exactly, and you've got all these animals. I mean, I think to look at the other aspect of it, the cow is so important to the Morrigan as well, and I think the nurturing of the cow and the giving of life and the giving and of, you know, and the fact that they can charge at you and trample you, or they can be really cute and give you milk. There's so many different aspects. I think if you're kind of feeling a bit lost, or what other aspects you have, do look at the animals that are in her myths and her tales. Even the eel, you know, no one wants to have the eel as their animal, but the eel's a really fascinating animal as well. So
yeah, it's funny because as I'm learning of her being the goddess of shapeshifter and all these different things that she transformed into to teach a specific lesson, you know, an eel is a very camouflage kind of creature that could hide and blend and adapt. And I think to take on that energy and being able to just adapt and be protective and hide, and it's interesting to be like that animal presence that she is as a sheep.
Absolutely, and I think it's really, you know, as well, it's really good, like you were saying, to find out about her and to research. As like, it's like a first date, you know, you don't want to do the wrong thing too much, but it's also really good because we're not right now in Iron Age Britain or Ireland, or, you know, we're in a very different time, Bronze Age, you know, and it's good to take things from that, but also not to live in the past. For me, for my journey, I know everyone's different and everyone's doing different things, but for me, I feel like now is a time in our culture that'll be written about in 2,000 years' time, is when things change. So it's important that she wants to come in now to help transformation, to help save the planet, to help, you know, with whatever our mission might be. So it's really good to look at the past, but not to get lost in it, because I think she has something very present to teach us and to share with us. Because I think we're at a point right now with fracking, with environmental issues, with sacred sites being destroyed and people, you know, being treated terribly, where she's really asking us to pull our socks up and to deal with our own stuff, to get our own spear and just stand up and be ourselves and fight for what we believe in. So very much look at the past. The myths are amazing and really useful, and I feel very much connected to my Celtic ancestors, but we're here now, and I think not to lose track of, she's very present with us as well at this time, as you know, obviously.
No, I agree. And I'm glad that you mentioned about the just our planet in general, and how it's technically either being taken advantage and hurting at this time more than ever before. And it is that very strong call to do something about it. And it doesn't necessarily mean to go with guns blazing at a local plant, but it means of kind of like, what have you been contributing to it? Finding out your own personal role in the situation, taking personal responsibility. Because I have a theory that if everyone just took care of their own shit, you know, I think the world will be a lot better, in a better shape.
Absolutely. It kind of feels overwhelming, doesn't it? Like everything is so intense and governments and things, you kind of feel overwhelmed. But as you say, if everyone just did that little thing and just dealt with our own shit personally and practically, which is really kind of a real one to go for, then we're going to see some huge differences, I hope, anyway. But she's calling an awakening. Literally 12 years ago, not many people I knew were really interested in her at all. And now it's like, yeah. And I'm not territorial. I'm just like, yeah, this is great. Get going, people.
You've been a very, and I hope I don't offend you with the word, you've been a very strong activist in your community when it came to wildlife and saving like the otters and the raccoons and everything. So how has that been as a warrior in your own right to defend all these woodland creatures?
Yeah, I think we all have our calling, and for me, animals is, I mean, people really work with children, people work with communities, animals and the environment, and the animals particularly, and here's my spear, here's like, I'm going to protect you guys, or I'm going to try and do what I can. I just feel a bit, again, you feel overwhelmed. There's so much stuff with culls that are totally unnecessary. Like here in England, we have the badger cull, which is just, there's no scientific reasons behind it, and animals are being killed, and I feel, you know, very personally, it's just really, it breaks my heart. So the animals, and I think the Morrigan is drawn to people who feel that passionate about a cause, you know, who feel that passion. And when I feel overwhelmed by everything, you kind of think, what can I do? You know, I think of the Morrigan and I think of, well, like, you know, you can make your voice heard, you can do that one thing, because she is a goddess of justice, I think, which you know, there's a lot of injustice, and I'm sure in most countries. And we have a lovely country. I love England. It's a brilliant, beautiful place. But, you know, with governments and corporations, they just rip the shit out of the land, and the animals don't mean anything to them. And that is an injustice and imbalance. So I think she's appreciating those who try to readdress the balance. And that's from all walks of life, from hippies to rich people to, you know, and rich hippies as well, obviously. I think, you know, but it is for everybody to embrace. And I think people are inspired by it because they watch the news and they go, oh, it's just so depressing. But when they realize, you know, just switch it off, just get up and do something, that warrior that's in all of us starts awakening, and that's what she wants.
I think that's awesome. It's true. I mean, I think our ancestors at one point were all warriors. Even if it's like in my Spanish heritage, if there was just a farmer, I'm sure they picked up a pitchfork at one point to defend their land. So I think it's all in us. I definitely agree. I apologize. This guy just like.
Don't apologize. That's just the most adorable thing.
Pay attention to me.
Who's a boo?
Probably not like that. So she probably likes the energy.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask a question as an artist to artist.
Yes.
You have done some freaking amazing work, not only with the fairy realm, but with the goddess work, and as a woman and as a goddess, you've created some brilliant work, and I know you have it with you. If you wouldn't mind sharing and talking about your amazing painting of the Morrigan.
Oh, she's smiling. She's smiling. So it's the original of the painting, actually. So it's only quite small. But it was funny because I was trying to draw her for years, and it was always going wrong. Like, it was just not happening. She was being very particular that I was not doing the right thing. And then this happened in like an evening or two, or a day or two, I think a few years ago. And it's very much like one of those paintings that changes. The expression on her face changes. You know, I know when I'm in trouble, I get told off, or when she's really pleased with things. It's just very for me to capture how I see her was really lovely as well, because I couldn't do it. I tried and I couldn't do it. And this is how often I see her there with her spear, with her spirals, with her crows, and like some of the ones flying off on a mission, one's talking to her, and one's just watching. And yeah, and it's always the fiery red hair that I see. I really often do see her with the fiery red hair. And I've done another couple of pictures of her as well, but this is the one that really is the one, whoa. Like, that's the kind of one that's like, hey, right, that's talking to me. And then my friend, who's now my friend, Emily Carding, but we didn't know each other at the time when we realised this, that she's released a tarot deck called the Tarot of the She. And when we met just after I'd finished painting that picture, she showed me this picture, which is almost like what happened 3 seconds later on my painting. It's like, okay, the crows are there, and now the crows have all gone. And we kind of realised by looking at our paintings, we've both journeyed to the same places, we've both seen the same things, which I think is really awesome. You know, it wasn't copying, we hadn't seen them, we hadn't seen each other's stuff. We'd just seen a few paintings where we'd known we'd kind of on a meditational journey been to the same places, or that she was speaking in the same way to us. So that was really fascinating.
Are very powerful paintings. And I can tell you when I saw yours, I know there's a little bit back, but when I saw yours, it gave me chills, and I knew, and I even told you, I was like, that. I didn't know. First, I didn't see that it was the Morrigan. I just saw the image like 2 years ago or so, and I just knew that it was going to be something of significance to me when I get older. You know, I'm now 30, and so I feel like I'm more mature now than I was a couple years ago. So it's that, yeah. I mean, and I still, time to time, I usually have it as my desktop wallpaper. I'll have it on my cell phone, and it's such a powerful. And you're right about the face. Sometimes I see it as the Mona Lisa, very like smiley up to something, knows some secrets. Sometimes she does look like she's frowning and she's upset. It's crazy.
It is.
For you.
Absolutely. And it's funny, it does affect people quite strongly. You like even the prints or the copies of it. You know, sometimes I've had a huge canvas made up of it, and people stop and go, I need that. I'm like, yeah, you probably do. If you feel you need it, then you probably do. But yeah, but I love the paintings you've been doing as well. I've been watching on this challenge. You've been doing some amazing drawings of her as well. They're awesome.
Thank you so much. I know I'm nervous. I did the 3 triple goddess aspects of the Morrigan, and I wanted to wait till the end of Closer to Samhain to depict the Goddess Morrigan to see how she's going to come to me. I'm very nervous about it because it's going to finally allow me to really just sit with her one-on-one and ask her, you know, how do you want to show up in my life, in what form? And, you know, maybe it's just a cow. Maybe I just draw a cow. I don't know. And
yeah.
So, because I know cows are very sacred to each one of these goddesses that I call down to, and it's been weird. And so someone actually asked me of how I just kind of go freestyle and just draw. And what I do before that's off camera, I just kind of sit and meditate, and I just kind of pray and I ask, you know, I would love to be honored by an image or a vision of what you would like for me to put on my book of shadows. And I get flashes of something, and like you said, it's really hard to like get that glimpse and figure out what that looks like. And it's almost like someone just goes to the flashcard and gets another flashcard, and you're like, oh, there's details in that I can't remember. And then I just kind of let go, and I surrender to the art. And I think I just kind of just go and see where it guides me.
Yeah, and it's been brilliant. It's been really lovely, really brilliant to see.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I've got another one I've been drawing of Bav. I've been drawing one of Bav for a while. I've sketched it out actually in her cauldron, and I just haven't finished it. It's just something that's really awkward with Morrigan paintings. They don't often happen when you think they're going to happen. They happen when they are ready to happen. So
yeah, absolutely. Because I've drawn different goddesses before, and I always feel like, oh, that's ugly, but I don't feel like it's me saying that, so I scrumple it up and throw it away. And I feel embarrassed. I'm like, oh my god, but that's cool. It's a different energy. I think it definitely is like a form of artistic scrying, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you not really know what you're doing. It almost feels like, all right, I got a paintbrush. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I'm just gonna draw a circle and see what happens. And then you have to stand back and be like, holy shit. You know, it's one of those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is worth it. It's worth all those ones you throw away going, this is so terrible, for that one moment that's like, this has worked. We're all happy now. Good.
No, I agree. I know a lot of people have asked me on different ways to invite the Goddess Morrigan as a daily practice. And do you have any suggestions or tips, or maybe recommendations that you've tried that you really like?
Well, absolutely. I find her presence quite strong. So sometimes you don't have to do much. Sometimes you don't have, if you're on that vibe where you're working with her, it could be even holding a feather and just connecting with her and saying her name. I think you'll probably find there's something that happens when you start working with the Morrigan, like crow feathers will be everywhere. That's the main one, isn't it? I think people get that a lot. They suddenly find there's crows everywhere. And I think we're, you know, connecting with crow energy, having a little altar, even if the altar is just a candle and a crow feather or something like that, and just every day, I have a little chant that I use or a chant that I say, but it's really powerful. I think when you're working with the Morrigan, it's like really having nuclear power. You don't need to do much, otherwise suddenly you've unleashed all of this, and you're like, I remember when I first started out with this, and it was about 10 years ago, probably at the beginning of my journey, and I was like, right, I'm now a witch, I'm going to cast a circle and invite the Morrigan, just because I wanted to. There was no reason for it, just because I wanted to, and I did, and she kicked my ass. She's like, what are you doing? You know, why?
That's funny.
She galloped in, looked at me like, oh, and galloped off again, and I was just like, oh shit. So it's like, don't use her, you know, as I say, don't feel like right now I'm going to, because, you know, just it makes you feel good that you're doing it, because I've made that mistake, and it just makes you feel silly at the end of the day. But I think it's just a little bit, because it's such a strong energy and it's a very transformative energy. Until you're used to that, I think just using a candle, maybe a statue, an image of her, maybe saying her name and connecting with her. The colours black and red are often really used with her as well. And just saying her name, or just a little chant, a few lines, being with that energy and really just being with it and see how it feels for you. And I think at the beginning, and maybe at points like your journey, less can be more. And she'll find she'll just listen, be really aware, because if you invite her in, she'll get into your life and she'll start pointing you in certain directions. And it is really wise to listen. Like suddenly, if you feel like you've invited her in and suddenly she's got you on an environmental issue, or she's telling you that you have to leave that job because it's, you know, it's not fair for you. It's wise to listen. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow. I'm just saying listen, because she'll come in very strongly, I think. And if you're in a relationship that's not good for you, all these things, you'll go, no, no, no. And you do it in your own time, because we all have our sovereignty. And I think that's the thing people don't think with the Morrigan sometimes, that you have to do what every goddess says. Listen, take it on board, but she appreciates you have your own mind. She appreciates you're independent and you're sovereign. She's a goddess of sovereignty. So I would say never give up your own free will. I know sometimes you can get carried away. Whatever the goddess says, I'll do it. And that's okay. But you've always got to be okay with your own morals and your own self. And she's come to you because you're strong, you're independent, and you have your own mind, and you are always you always have the last say of what you will and won't do. So I kind of feel that's really important to say, because I think people can go, whatever the goddess tells me to do, I'll do it. And I'm like, whoa. Whoa.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that, because I think that's a part of our whole human experience, is to have free will. So giving that up, it's kind of like
sometimes, but she loves it about me. She gets really annoyed, like, for God's sake. But I'm like, but this is me, and she's like, oh, I'll come back later then, you know. But it's why she's come to you, because you're blooming stubborn-minded and you know what you want. And as you say, it's wise to listen. Please listen. Don't go, I don't care what you say, goddess, I'm off. But listen and really take it, sit within you, and do what your path decrees, not what anyone else tells you to do, because I think this is a really important thing. Sovereignty within yourself is something to master, very much so.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, that's powerful, Laura, because it's pretty much saying, like, the best way to honor the Goddess Morrigan is by honoring yourself and not denying oneself. And so
it is, it's the best way to honor yourself, to not to know yourself in its shadow and light. And people kind of look outwards for divine and outwards for things, but you have to go through the ugliness, and the beauty and the dirtiness and the shame and everything that's in here has to be, she'll show it you. So it's like you have to know yourself and really love and nurture and accept yourself, and then you can be sovereign, and then you can honor and really honor yourself. And you know that, you know, we've probably picked up a lot of stuff over our lives which are totally irrelevant to us now and aren't useful. So she will help you clear that out. But honouring and nurturing yourself, you've got it on the head. I think that's, for me in my path anyway. Again, I never want to preach, but I think it's healthy for everyone to be good with themselves, to look at themselves, to nurture themselves. And that may sound all hippie, but it's not. It's really blooming important to be on this place, to honour yourself and honour the goddess within you as well, male or female.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm on a bit of a rant now, aren't I? I'm on one. I'm like, taking my crystal.
Careful with that. That's our free Wi-Fi.
It's not Wi-Fi. We're gonna hold on to this.
Oh my God, Laura and I had technical difficulties, and as soon as she brought her little unicorn selenite tower wand, it just kind of kicked in into full gear. So I was like, our free Wi-Fi, our universal Wi-Fi. But yeah, I mean, for me, and learning about all the goddesses that are tied into the Goddess Morrigan, it definitely helped me to do a little bit, because I don't feel like it's a tangible things. I think for her, it's all internal things. I think the way we were talking about honoring, but like doing fairy gardens, which I love. I know that you love doing fairy gardens and having a little moment for fairies. I think that's also very a great way to honor her, and being very thankful. I think grateful for like food, for things that are supposed to be of wealth. Like cows are supposed to be significant for wealth and money and status.
And they get treated like shit. They get treated so badly. We treat them awfully, and they're amazing creatures. Sorry, I'm on my rant again.
But it's true, and I think that's where that call comes for, as a daily practice. It's what am I doing of my part to kind of save something or be of service in that type. It's that definitely the call Morrigan is a call of service, and that's what I've been finding out for sure.
Yeah. It is a call of service, absolutely, and you'll get your homework, don't you? You get like, now you're going to do this and now this, but it is service. I think to have that, you know, I think it's very easy, and we all do it, and I've done it, to go. I think I was talking to April Shaley about this in my interview with her, that when you channel this energy, it's really wow. You know, when you channel the Morrigan, when you bring her down, and other goddesses too, it's like, so powerful. And you got to remember, that's not you, that's her. And if you forget and think I am all powerful, you get a slap in the face sometimes. And it's happened to me, you know. I never thought I'm all powerful, but I've kind of just gone, oh, energy, wow. But you've got to keep, you know, it's not you've got to keep it as a service thing. The ego is an amazing, beautiful thing, but we've got to keep it in check sometimes. And that we're here doing awesome work, being priests and priestesses, or whatever you want to call yourself, but it's a work of service to the goddess. So it's a funny work of balance, isn't it? Sometimes, yes, to be in power, but not to let that get too crazy. To be service, but not to be a total doormat. It's like finding that balance.
I definitely agree. And one of the things I was going to ask you is like, since I've been working with her, I feel very regal. I feel very important, and I feel like I have a responsibility to. It's almost like in the king and queen aspect, you have to be of service, and you have to represent yourself in a certain way, because people are counting on you to be the representative for the goddess and for yourself. And so it really puts you on a mindful check that I can't act a certain way because it's not good. I'm not gonna.
You'll be quite funny. I'm the king. Do what I say.
How embarrassing for the Goddess Morrigan if there's a picture of me like drunk in my lawn. I know, what was that? So do you feel like that?
You love that. Sorry.
Do you feel like that, Laura? Like that very regal presence sometimes?
Yeah, and it's such a good thing, and I think it's something to really, because I think we often feel a lot of the time we feel very unregal. We feel very, I'm late, I've got this to do. We feel very low. It's just not, you know, we don't often carry ourselves in that way. And I think it's such a powerful thing. I think regal is a lovely word to carry yourself and to, you know, to work and to walk and to be in that really lovely sovereign space. And it isn't a power trip at all. It's not, it's working with your power and not being less, not kind of hunching down and being all, I couldn't possibly. It's actually, yes, you know, think of the warriors, think of the queens, think of just bringing that energy into yourself a little bit each day. It's really amazing. And yeah, I think it's lovely, like when you're working magically in covens or when you're doing something really magical, you get that feeling, don't you? And then you go, I want to bottle this and take it around with me, but then you go to the supermarket and you kind of lose it a little bit. And but no, it's a lovely, lovely, powerful feeling. Absolutely.
It is, and it can be a very addicting feeling too, especially just walk in with like a scepter at the grocery store and like have someone get the trolley and the cart.
That's when you get the cosmic slap, isn't it? Really, that's when you're like.
No, it's true. And so yeah, I don't know, Laura, if you have any last little nuggets of wisdom about the Goddess Morrigan or about you working with her.
Well, she's smiling again. It's like that's the painting smiling. I'm like, she's smiling. I think that the warrior aspect is really important for our inner selves, and it isn't about violence. Like in a lot of the myths, very rare that Morrigan would go out and hit someone and stab them. She was very clever. She would work her way around things. So actually kind of working on your, dealing with the situations that are troubling you without violence is quite a thing for her as well. That was a last resort for a lot of times. She'd actually work clever ways around things, and helping you connect into your wild self and to connect to the energy of the wolf and the energy of the wild. She is a goddess of the land. She is a goddess of the earth. So anything that you can do that's going to connect you to the earth, to help the earth and respect the earth, she's going to be happy for. She's going to really, really be happy for. So even if you're honoring each day is going out with your feet on the grass or your feet on whatever landscape you have where you are, and just honoring it, that is I think a very powerful way of connecting with her. And it's not to be afraid, but to be very respectful. This is not a game. If you invite her in, she's coming in.
I think that's great advice. That's true. I mean, you just don't dabble on something and not take it seriously. Because then you
I'm
get
not
that.
the most serious person. It's not. I'm not saying you have to be. Because it isn't my nature to be that serious all the time. You might have noticed, but it doesn't mean I don't take it seriously in a very kind of different way. So I mean, people think they've got to be very solemn all the time. Just be you. She's called to you for you. What is the essence that makes you you? And work on that and be the best you possibly can. And, and have support around you, because I think she'll bring out stuff that's not always easy to deal with. And I think it's really good if you've got people you can talk to, people you can connect with, and say, oh gosh, that's very English, isn't it? Oh gosh, I brought the Morrigan in, and now I'm dealing with all this stuff on my past. And it's really good to have a good support base around you, because it's very healthy stuff, but it's kind of full on for a poor human to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, my experience of what I could kind of give is that in hearing so many different people's perspectives, it's very easy to fall into that kind of shrugged shoulder and very timid. It's like, oh, well, I can't work with her. I feel very fearful, or someone's warning me. I don't like that. So I always say question everything, question the things that I say. I mean, it's always good to figure out how you feel about them. And I think that what we talked about of the best way to honor the Goddess Morrigan is to honor yourself and to just be you. And I think that what you just said about she picked you for a reason, don't do something completely different than that.
Yeah. Don't suddenly go, right now I'm this, so now I must put on my cloak. And we like cloaks, but I've got to be all. It's like, no, just be you, and but really be you, and not let all the rubbish that's stopping you from being the best you get out of the way, so you can really shine. And I think she needs people out there shining and making things happen. She doesn't need us going, I would do, but I can't because I'm still so insecure. It's like we all feel insecure, we all feel vulnerable, but it's kind of working with that still. But again, as you say, it's not about what I say. This is just my experience, and if you have a very different experience, I'm not saying it's wrong at all. It's just this has been my very powerful experience. But I just think it can't be wrong, can it? If you're working to be the best you can't be wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it at all. And I agree. I think the more authentic people are, they subconsciously affect other people and give them the right to be authentic themselves, because it inspires people. And I think it's almost like a little viral kind of thing where it just starts affecting the people that you surrounded. And when you're talking about the support, you end up having this really cohesive support group that feel authentic, and it's neat. I think it's a neat thing.
It's really neat. It is, and it's good to people that get you and to have that connection wherever they are in the world that go, yeah, I get you. Because I think sometimes your friends might say, what are you doing? What? Why is it so upset? Why isn't he getting upset about this? But things will come up, and but I think as I was saying before, there's so many of these powerful goddesses making themselves known at the moment, Kali, and there's so much of it out there that this angry kind of, no, we're not taking this anymore, but be you, rise up and be yourself. And it's not starting wars, it's actually just really taking that power in your life so you don't get bullied and pushed around by the big companies and by media as much as possible. That call is out there, and I think people are really taking up their own stand, which I love.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I have noticed in a lot of my little groups that I'm a part of that death goddesses have been coming up to the surface and wanting people to make those huge transitions. So they're almost like they're standing ready to take stuff from us that need to be taken away to release. And I think it has a big thing about the call to service right now with the world. It's almost like all of these death gods are standing in with their spears, swords, whatever they need to get ready for battle, and they're prepping their little minions, if that makes sense. And so it's kind of cool.
It does very much. Yeah, I mean we're minions, but we're minions with minds of our own. So.
No, I agree. But thank you so much, Laura. And I know we'll chat a little bit after the call ends, but I really appreciate taking the time out of your day because I know it's later in the afternoon for you. I always have so much fun chatting with you. So thank you.
Oh, you too. It's been lovely. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for all those that have watched it with us live and that are going to watch it later, the pre-recorded. Thank you so much. We both appreciate all your love and support. Make sure you check out Laura Daligan at lauradaligan.com. I'll link her Facebook and her website again so you can go check out her art. Purchase some of her readings. You're doing amazing stuff with tarot. Did you want to mention something about that?
Oh, well, maybe. But just I think going hand in hand very quickly with this self-transformation stuff. I think it's quite useful to have readings with other people because I get readings with other people because this self-transformation stuff is huge. It's huge, and it's good within the reading to see where you're going and what is this mission, or what are you doing in this path, and how can you get there. And I think it's really good to have some pinpoints and some direction in readings. And I think I love doing readings at this time in the world, particularly because everyone seems to be going through these big shifts, and sometimes it's really nice to have someone there to go, I get it, I'm seeing what you're doing and I can see where you're going.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sure you'll probably feel the same way. But as a readers, the questions that people have been asking are almost exactly the same. It's all about what's my divine purpose and where can I be most of service. And I feel like those are the questions I get a lot, and it's because people are hearing that call.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if they're asking something else, like they're open to hearing the stuff that the bigger stuff. They're open to it. Maybe a few years ago I just want to know if Bob loves me, but now they're like, okay, Bob loves you, but actually here's the bigger stuff that's going on. And not saying that love isn't big. Love's the biggest thing in the world, but sometimes we can get caught up on little chapters of our lives when the whole bigger picture is something to really explore.
I agree. I definitely agree, and I feel like we'll just talk forever.
Yes, we'll stop now.
So thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Have a beautiful weekend. Blessed be.